Hey, it's Justin with Flipwise. Today I'm going to walk you through end-to-end, a walkthrough tutorial of how to use Flipwise. We're going to start on the dashboard right here. So this is the main screen you're going to see after logging in for the first time. It's broken up into a couple sections. This first section right here is My Tasks. So that's going to show you any tasks that you need to complete at any given time. For me, I only have a task that's asking me to insert some old data for some of my historical sales, but all sorts of tasks are going to show up here. So maybe you have an item to ship, or maybe you have a newly listed item that needs some data entered in there. Keep an eye out on this My Tasks section for anything new that you need to take action on. Over to the right of that, we've got this Stats section. So this is going to break down your new listings, your products sold, and your net sales over different time frames. So for example, you can see I haven't listed anything new today, haven't sold anything, and I have no net sales for the day. But yesterday, I didn't have any new listings, but I did sell 3 things for $97. You can switch to weekly view, you can switch to monthly and yearly to get a good quick breakdown of the performance of your store. Down below that, we just have a standard gross sales versus net sales graph over the last 24 hours. You can hover over this to get details. You can see here at 10 p.m. last night, I sold $66 worth of sales and netted $47.37. Below that, we have recently listed and recently sold. So the last 5 items that I've listed and the last 5 items that have sold. You can click into there. The all active products are all sold in order to see a full list of those. And below that, we just have a new listings and sales graph. So over the last 24 hours, I've had no new listings, but 2 sales, one at 3 p.m. yesterday and 10 p.m. last night. So that's the dashboard. On the left-hand side, you're going to have your navigation. It's broken up into inventory, sold, your ledger, insights, and manage. We're going to walk through each one of these. At any time, though, when you're using Flipwise, you're going to see a question mark right up here. Opening that will open up our knowledge base or our help articles. You can search through the knowledge base and find answers to your questions, or if you can't find an answer to your question, you can hit the ask button right there and fill out an email, and it'll email directly to us and we will respond pretty quickly and help you out. So at any time on any page, you can click into that via the question mark right up top. And then this is your user menu right there. And so this is just going to show you who you're logged in as. You can click in here to your account, your tax report, or you could sign out, and we'll get to that in a little bit. So when you first create a Flipwise account, it's going to automatically ingest all of your active listings as well as all of your sold orders over the last 2 years. All of your active listings can be found right here under active, and this is the index view. So you're seeing all of your active products here and a variety of data about those active products. So you'll see a picture, you'll see the listing title, you'll see how long it was listed for. Hovering over that will give you the exact list date. You'll see the storage location, so that's your local inventory. This one's located in G4, that's a part of my inventory system. You have your cost, which is how much you paid for an item, where you purchased it at. In this case, I purchased it at Salvation Army, the purchase date, and then finally what it's listed at, and if there's a custom SKU value defined on the eBay side, it would show up here. You can see some of them have a custom SKU right down here. All of this is editable though, so when you first log in, yours is likely going to be blank. You're not going to have any storage locations, no costs, no purchased at. In fact, let's just go ahead and delete that. We'll delete G4 there, we'll delete 7. We'll delete Salvation Army. This is likely what you're going to see across all of your active inventory when you first log in. And if I go back to the home screen, you're going to see I have 1 active product missing data because I just deleted that. If you click into that, it's going to show you the 1 active product where you are missing data. I'm going to go back to the active inventory screen though, and you can just click to fill in all of the acquisition data here. So what was it, G4? I'll go ahead and add that back so I don't forget where it's at. The cost was $7. You can just add that. And then finally, it was purchased at Salvation Army. You can just add that. Now, a couple items, I'm just going to clear them out so I can show you a couple tricks here. So we built the data input here to mimic that of a spreadsheet. And so how you enter in data into a spreadsheet is very similar to how you enter data into Flipwise. So in this case, storage location, I'm just going to start typing G4. You're going to see it's going to pull up results here. I could select from it, or I could hit the enter key on the keyboard. If I hit enter, what that's going to do is save that and close out that row for editing. I'm going to go ahead and delete that out and tell you what else you can do. So we'll go ahead and do G4, but instead of hitting enter, I'm going to hit tab. That's going to save G4 and pop me over to the next editable field, which is cost. I'm going to go ahead and hit 7, and then I'm going to pop over to Salvation Army and I'll go ahead and type that. Once you see that highlighted, now since it's the last field that I'm going to edit right now, I'm going to hit enter, and you'll see all of those are saved at one time. So very quick editing in that regard. From this screen, you can get through all of the different inventory filters. You'll see on the left we have unlisted, scheduled, ended, donated, discarded, deleted, missing data. You can jump between those using these radio buttons up top as well. You can search for your inventory. So this search is going to work across all of these available fields. So if I want to see every Schleg item that I have listed, I can do that. If I wanted to see anything stored in E2, for example, we could see that. What else could I show you here? I could say, anything bought at Salvation Army, we could see that. I could do SKU as well. So 1278, that's going to pull up the custom SKU. So you can search across all these different fields very quickly to find the items that you're looking for. We also have a filter button here, so you can click filter and you can change either the purchase date or the list date here to be whatever you want. And so if I just wanted to see everything that was listed in the last 7 days, I could do that. That's going to show you everything I've listed in the last 7 days. Or I could do everything with a purchase date, last year. Why not? Let's see what that looks like. So there's everything that I purchased last year. So this filter button is going to let you pick a lot of different options to filter your active inventory. Then finally, right here, you're going to have an export button. So if you hit that export button, Flipwise is going to take the view that you're looking at right now with all of this data and send you an email with a link to a CSV file, a comma-separated value, a spreadsheet file that you can download, which is the raw data that makes up the view that you're looking at. So if I were to just do this, if I just search Disney, for example, you'll see that there's 35 results for Disney products in my inventory. If I hit export, you'll see it's going to export only what you're looking at. So in this case, inventory active matching Disney in the reverse sorted order by listed for. So if I hit export, I would get that exported. Now let's look at the product detail. So if you click into any one of these products, you're going to see the product detail page, which looks like this. You're going to see the main image. Below that, you're going to see the product details, which is very similar to what you saw on the previous screen. Active, the status, the purchase date, the time, the length of time it's been listed, how long it took you to list. And so it's been listed for 2 days. I purchased it on January 2nd, and it took me a month to list. And so if you've been putting in your purchase dates, and it's going to calculate this time to list for you automatically. Obviously, you can change the purchased from location here. If you wanted to, you could change the price and the storage location. You can also leave notes. So this is a note. And we can just leave a note like that. On the right, you're going to have your timeline, and this is going to show everything that's happened to this product since you put it in your inventory. So you can see here on January 2nd, I purchased it at Salvation Army for $7, and I stored it in G4. And then I listed it on February 12th for $19.99. You've got a link to the eBay listing right there. And you'll see here, at some point, I changed the title to a different title. So you can see just the history of this entire product. And once it sells, you're going to see its sales history show up here as well. And we'll get to that in a second. On the right side of any product in your inventory, you're going to have this action menu right here, the 3 dots in the right-hand corner. This is going to give you a lot of different options. I'm not going to go through all of these right now, but we will eventually in this video get through all of these options. So you could add a specific expense or a credit. So let's say that you sold this item and had to buy a specialty box for it that cost $5. You could hit add expense, and you could associate an expense with this item in particular, and that'll affect its net return and ROI. Same goes for a credit. Let's say it got lost in the mail after you sold it and you got an insurance payout. You could add a credit there. Connect unlisted. We'll get to that in a second. Mark as sold, and we'll get to that one in a second too. Mark as donated and mark as discarded. So we'll get to that too here in a minute. And then finally a delete. It's not going to let me delete it because there's an active listing. And so the only way you can delete a product here from your inventory if it's not actively listed on eBay anymore. So you can see here, I'll try that. It says product can't be deleted because it's actively listed on eBay. So that's the product detail page. Let's now talk about unlisted inventory. So when you sign up for Flipwise, as I said, it's going to ingest all of your active listings and your sold history going back 2 years. And when you list something new, it's going to get ingested into Flipwise automatically right away. However, a lot of times you buy inventory and you don't always list it right away, but you want to manage that inventory. You want to add your acquisition data, like where you bought it from and for how much and when. immediately and not wait for it to be listed on eBay so it can be ingested into Flipwise. And that's what the unlisted inventory is for. So if you click unlisted on the left-hand side, you're going to see the list of all of my unlisted products. And so this is the stuff, my death pile. This is what's sitting around needing to be listed. And you can add to this. So let's just say that I picked up today, here it's Valentine's Day, let's say at a Salvation Army for $5. I picked up a Yeti mug, and it's blue, and there's only one of them. Now I could just save this directly to my inventory. If I have a lot of things to enter at one time, I could check this box to save and add another. And that's going to keep this modal popped up so that I can continue to add more and more. And if I bought a lot of items from the exact same place at the exact same time, and I need to add all those items at once, I can hit copy acquisition data to next product, and you'll see what happens here. I'm going to go ahead and add that blue Yeti mug. Let's say I bought another one that was red, and this one was $7, not $5. Then I can go ahead and add that one as well. I'm going to uncheck those boxes though, since I don't have any more to add. And you'll see here, Yeti mug blue, Yeti mug red. You'll see it automatically gave a storage location of unlisted shelf. And so I set my storage location to be defaulted to the unlisted shelf for all unlisted inventory. I'll show you how to do that in a second. But that went ahead and added this Yeti mug, both of these Yeti mugs, to my unlisted inventory. Now, let's say that I went ahead and listed one of these Yeti mugs, and I don't want to re-enter that acquisition data once it's actually listed on eBay and ingested into Flipwise. What you do is you connect it. So you go over to connect here and find the listing, and I'm not actually going to connect it because this is not the right listing to connect it to, but you can find that listing once it's live and select it there and hit connect, and that's going to connect the data from Yeti mug, the unlisted product, and move it over and associate it with the listing itself so that you don't have to enter that data in twice. So that's how unlisted works. Again, you're going to have these radio buttons up here that work. Searching inventory works all the same. You can delete it directly from here. You can filter these, and you can export it just like any other one. So moving on, we have the scheduled view. This is going to be blank for me because I don't currently have any listings scheduled to be published in the future on eBay. But if you do use the scheduling function in eBay to list something and then set it to go live sometime in the future, it's going to show up under scheduled right here. The ended view is all of your listings on eBay that are no longer active. And so, for example, I bought this Nikon camera here, and I was going to list it as 4 parts untested, but I ended up wanting to buy a battery for it and actually test it, a battery charger and actually test it so that I could, get more money for it. So I ended the listing. You'll see it's ended here. And you'll also see that I applied an expense there because I bought this charger off of eBay. So I just use that expense option right there. But because it's no longer active on eBay, it is going to show up under ended. Now, once I test this, and I'm going to go back to eBay and I'm going to relist it, and I'll probably up the price on it, and I'll remove untested. Now, Flipwise is going to retain the connection for all listings for the same item. So as long as I hit that relist or sell similar from this existing old listing on eBay, then all of this is going to stay the same on the Flipwise side. I won't have to re-enter my data or anything like that. Let's go over to donated. So if your item is ended on eBay, you can also mark it as donated. So I'll just show you an example here. This is something that got returned. Let's say that I was not going to relist it. I'm just going to donate it. I can hit that donated button, and it's going to record the donation. I can edit the date that it was donated. So donated on right there if I needed to change the date that I was donating it. And then it's going to show up under donated. There it is right there. I didn't actually donate it, so I'm going to unmark it as donated. But you can do the same thing for discarded. So this, it's good to denote that you've donated something for tax purposes, but maybe you just threw it away. Maybe it was no longer sellable. You broke something. I don't know. You can mark that as discarded, and that will send it to the discarded view as well. And what that's going to do is allow you to realize the cost, the purchase price of those items that didn't sell. And so without marking it as donated or without marking it as discarded, from a tax perspective, those may not show up on your cost of goods sold because they never sold. But if you mark them as donated or damaged, they will show up on your tax report. And we'll get to that in a second. So that's why you want to mark these items as donated or discarded if you get rid of them, because you want to be able to write those costs off on your taxes. So after donated and discarded, you'll have your list of deleted items. And once you hit delete in Flipwise, it's going to retain the item for 30 days. And it's going to show up under this deleted queue where if you wanted to, you could undelete it. I'm not going to undelete that one. I'll keep that one deleted. And this will automatically, after 30 days, delete them forever after they're completely done. Finally, you have your missing data. So I don't have any active listings that are missing data, but again, if I were to clear this out and then hop down to missing data, you would see it there. I'll go ahead and add them back so I don't forget, because this is my real inventory here. Okay. And then if I refresh missing data, that'll go away. So that is all of your inventory screens in Flipwise. That's your active, your unlisted, your scheduled, your ended, donated, discarded, deleted, and missing data. Let's move on to sold. So on the sold screen, it looks very similar to your active inventory screen, but obviously there's going to be more data, right? There's going to be sales data. So you'll see here, my most recent sale was 16 hours ago for some Maui Jim sunglasses. It sold on eBay for $66.98. I paid $5.20 for it. The net sales were $47.37, 911% ROI. It took 9 days to sell. This is where I purchased it from a bulk buy on February 1st, and then the custom SKU there. And again, this works exactly like the other inventory screens. You can select the radio buttons up here. You can search through them. You can filter them, and you can export them. You can also see here, new off eBay sale. This allows you to record a sale if it didn't happen on eBay. So obviously Flipwise is going to ingest all of your data for any sales that happen on eBay, but what about something on Mercari or Facebook Marketplace or even an antique booth or, a flea market, things like that? You can add an off eBay sale. I'm not going to do that right this second. We will get to that in a second though. If I click into view the product detail page for this recent sale of the Maui Jim sunglasses, you're going to see some different information over here on the timeline and under product details. You're going to see my selling costs, my total costs. So the selling costs are all of my final value fees, my cost to ship, all of that. My total costs are selling costs plus my purchase price. So my all-in on these sunglasses was $19.61. And they sold for $66.98. So my net return on this one was $47.30. The ROI is 911%, the net profit margin's 71%, and the total payout is $52.57. The total payout is basically your net return plus your original purchase price. That's basically how much cash you got back from eBay for this particular sale. Then you'll see the order on the actual timeline here. So just looking from the very beginning, I purchased it on February 2nd. I listed it on February 4th, 3 days later for $59.99. It sold then, 9 days later on February 13th for $66.98. That's $59.99 plus $6.99 in buyer paid shipping. And it's going to give you a breakdown of all the fees that you incurred for this sale. So your final value fee fixed, your regular final value fee, your ad fee. So I use promotions, so I was charging an additional $1.45. The cost to ship, that's going to get ingested automatically if you ship through eBay. And then it's going to calculate your net return and your ROI and your net profit margin. You also get an eBay order ID. If you click that, it'll jump you back over to eBay. The ready to ship queue, I don't have anything going out right now. I wish I did while I was recording this, but I don't. But if I had anything that needed to be shipped, it would show up right here. This kind of acts as your pick list, which works out really well. You can pull it up on your phone, walk around your inventory, pull everything that needs to be pulled for the day and needs to be shipped. This is the screen you would do that from. This shows everything that's sold but already shipped. And so this right now, since I don't have anything that it needs to be shipped, it's going to look the same as my all sold. Then you've got your returned view. And so this is anything that has a return on it. So we'll jump into one of these returned items. Let's just check these socks. Since today's Valentine's Day, I'll check the Valentine's Day socks. You can see that I sold these, they were shipped, and then, about 8 days later, the buyer opened a return. I went ahead and refunded them. And I paid for a return shipping label because I have free returns. The return was closed, and then I eventually relisted on eBay, and it's still active. So you'll see just the full history of everything that happened to this individual product. And this was all automatic. And so the return shipping label showed up automatically by Flipwise, the return close. I didn't have to enter any of this stuff in manually. Sometimes when you sell something though, and it gets returned, you let the buyer keep it. And in that case, you can go up here and just say not returned. I'm not going to click that now because that's not the case here. But what that's effectively going to do is mark it as discarded so that the cost of goods can still be written off even though it's been returned. Canceled is very similar to return. So these are any orders that have been canceled. Again, you're going to see canceled, refunded. This just means, I sold this and then before I shipped it, the buyer canceled it. So I refunded it and then I just ended up discarding it. And then again, you're going to have a similar missing data view just for your sold items here. And so I do have some very old, these are sold over a year ago that I just haven't bothered to enter my acquisition data for because it's not tax relevant for me right now. But if you need to, you can go through from this view. This is also a really good view and if you happen to ship outside of eBay and you need to manually enter in your shipping costs, any orders that are missing shipping costs are going to show up on this screen and you can just enter them all in bulk really quick. And so that's a nice little trick. All right, before moving on to Ledger, we're going to talk really quick about adding a new off eBay sale. So remember this, I mentioned this earlier, this green button. So this is if you sell something at an antique booth or on Mercari. If you make a sale somewhere outside of eBay and it doesn't get ingested automatically, you can record it manually here. And so there's two ways to do it. The way I just did it is by adding a new product that's never been listed on eBay before. And so let's say that I just had some item that I had on Facebook Marketplace. It's never listed on eBay. I'm going to add it directly. I'm not going to fill all this out right now. You can figure that out. You just give it a name, a purchase price. You can give it a photo if you want. Again, where you bought it from and the date and the marketplace and the list date if you know it, the sale date, the amount that it's sold for, any fees, and whether it's been shipped or not. You fill all that out and it's going to add that directly to this sale page. There's another way that you can do it as well, is if it was listed on eBay already. Obviously if you have this item listed on eBay and you sold it outside of eBay, you would go in and end the listing on eBay so you don't accidentally sell it twice. That would cause it to show up here under the ended queue in Flipwise. You can click into this and you can go to the right and hit mark as sold. And so that's going to allow you to add an order to this existing product because it was previously listed on eBay but is now ended. So you don't have to re-add all of that information again using the add new sale from before. Let's move on to the ledger. So the Flipwise ledger makes it easy to record general business expenses for your business. And so obviously Flipwise is going to ingest all of your sales related expenses coming directly from eBay, but there's all sorts of other business expenses that you may want to record for tax purposes, whether that's eBay store fees or maybe shipping supplies like boxes. And this is where you're going to add those. You'll notice some expenses probably are already going to show up for you automatically with this lightning bolt there. That means Flipwise has automatically ingested those expenses from eBay. So in this case, I'm an eBay store subscriber, and that's my February 1st charge of $27.95 for my eBay store. So anytime you see that lightning bolt means it's been ingested automatically. For everything else, you have to add manually. And so let's say I bought some boxes. You go in here, you click new. You'll notice that you can also log mileage. I'll get to that in a second. And you add a new general expense. I can just add, $5, a Schedule C category so that it's lined up with your taxes. I'm going to say supplies. Let's say I bought it from Home Depot. And these are boxes for $5, and I can hit save. I can also relate an expense to a product. And so if you remember earlier, I was showing you that I bought a charger for a camera. That's how you would do it here. This is another way that you can associate a specific expense or credit with a particular product, but I'm not going to do that right now. We'll just go ahead and hit add there. You'll see it adds right there as a $5 expense from Home Depot. And then you can also delete it if you need to. Since I just made this up, I will go ahead and delete it. You can also add mileage. There's a special entry form for mileage. You just click that. You can give either an odometer reading or the total distance driven. It's going to automatically calculate it for you based on your per mile credit right there. If you need to edit it, you can, but it's going to default to your location. Like in the US, it's 70 cents for 2025. And then it'll give you a description here, which you can add to if you want to. And then the trip date, and you can save it. And there it is. I'm going to go ahead and delete that because I don't need it. So very quick and easy to log mileage as well. This also supports non-cash expenses. So that there are some expenses that you have in your business that you don't actually pay for, but you do need to record for tax purposes. So mileage is a good example where if you drove 100 miles and you can write off 70 cents, like you didn't actually spend that 70 cents per mile for 100 miles. You didn't actually pay for that, but you want to log it for tax purposes. And so you can do that by marking it as a non-cash expense. When you log mileage through the ledger, it's going to automatically do that, but you can change any existing expense to non-cash if you want to. Right there, non-cash expense. And again, that's just going to tell Flipwise that you didn't actually pay for it. And that is important when we come to the income statement and talk about that here in a second. Again, you can filter through expense and credits here. You can search. You can filter over here by time, and you can export this as raw data as well. So that's the ledger. Now we're going to pop into the insights section. So there's two different areas that we're going to talk about, actually three different areas. The first is the sales insight area. This is going to give you a broad overview with lots of graphs and visualizations about how your sales are performing for any given time period. You can select the different time period. It's going to default to last 7 days. You could do it for today. It's going to be pretty boring for me since I haven't sold anything today. You could do yesterday, last week, all these different ones, or you can do custom. So if I just want to do a sales report here for October 8th through, January 8th, why not? It's going to go ahead and produce that for you. And so you can see here, I have $18,000 in gross sales and $10,000 in net sales. It's going to give you a breakdown of the average gross per sale, the average net per sale, your net profit margin. It's going to tell you your top 10 sources by net return. So garage sales were producing the most amount of money for me during that time period. It's going to break down all of your listings from where you got them, the price of your listings. It's going to give you the net return by marketplace. So if you have recorded sales that happened outside of eBay manually, those would show up here as well. It's going to calculate your total money spent on new inventory. It's going to calculate how much money you spent on inventory for what sold during that time period. Marketplace fees, shipping labels, how many new listings you had, how many sales you had. It's going to calculate your time, your average time to list and your average time to sell and your return on investment. So just a ton of different metrics that you can pull up for any time period. This is last year, the last 24 hours, anything you want to do there. Really handy screen. This is probably one of the most important screens that you would be using while using Flipwise. Moving on to the income statement, because the sales insights screen is sales specific. It's not going to consider all sorts of other expenses that are unrelated to your sales, like general business expenses from the ledger. That's what the income statement is for. So when you land on the income statement here, it's going to give you your month to date. And we're at February 14th. So you can see here, this is my income statement for February 1st through the 14th. You can change it just like the sales insight screen to any time period that you want. It's going to give you a complete breakdown of all your revenue coming in, all your expenses going out, and then give you a total net income. Let's get a broader set of data here. Let's just look at last year. You can see I had a total revenue of $59,641, total expenses of $34,000, and a total net income of $24,861. And again, this is all automatic. It's pulling from the ledger. It's pulling from eBay automatically for your marketplace fees, your shipping costs. If you were to record sales and marketplace fees from non-eBay marketplaces, that would show up here. If you were missing data, so if it's tried to generate a report but doesn't have certain data for you, it's going to give you some warnings over here and tell you to enter that data in if you want it to be accurate. And this is also not going to show those non-cash expenses because, to use the example of mileage, you didn't actually spend any money to drive. You didn't spend any cash, to drive those miles that you want to write off on your taxes. So it's not going to show up here. It's not actually leaving your bank account. It will, however, show up on your tax report. And so let's jump to that tax report really quick. There's a couple ways that you can get to it. Right here, you've got this module on the income statement on the right where it says generate a detailed 2024 tax report. You can also go up here to your user menu down to the 2024 tax report as well. I'll just click this one. It's going to look very similar to your income statement with a few key differences. Again, broken up by business income and business expenses, but your inventory and cost of goods sold looks a little bit different. That's because this supports both the accrual and the cash inventory accounting methods. So we're automatically going to give you your starting inventory value. how much you spent on new inventory for the tax year, your ending inventory value, and then finally your cost of goods sold. You'll notice here, it'll say includes your donated and discarded inventory as well. So again, that's why you want to mark those items as donated and discarded so that they show up under your cost of goods sold for tax purposes. Just like the income statement, there's going to be all sorts of warnings here if you have not entered in your tax data yet. You just want to keep these green at all times. And so if they're showing up as red, that means you have data that's missing. You can click these warnings to enter in the data that Flipwise needs in order to generate an accurate tax report for you. You can hit the download button right here. Similar to exporting, this is just going to send you a CSV version of your tax report. By the way, you can do the same thing on the income statement. You get that download button as well. This is a good way to just check and make sure if you have any questions about why Flipwise is generating the numbers that it's generating, hit that download button. It's going to send you a full report of all this data that's made up that these numbers are using to generate here on the tax report. So check that download button if you have any questions about how any of this works. So moving on, manage is the last section of the navigation. There's a couple different sections here we'll talk through. The first is purchase locations. So this is all the places that you have bought inventory from, and it's going to give you a breakdown of how much total money you've spent in these places, how many items you bought there, what your gross income, net income, ROI, and your total payout is for each one of these. We'll just pick one of these at random. I'll just do estate sales here. You can see here, I've bought 586 things from estate sales, spending $2,200. My gross income from everything bought at estate sales is $17,000. My net's $9,600. My ROI is 434%. Here's everything that I've purchased recently from an estate sale, everything that's sold from an estate sale. Really good to see a breakdown of all these different purchase locations here. You can edit it. You can change the name of it. You can change your notes. You can also delete it if you want to, but because I have items associated with it, it's going to require that I associate those items with a different replacement location. I'm not actually going to do that right now, but this allows you to merge a bunch of items associated with one purchase location to another if you need to, and then you'd be able to delete it. Storage locations works very similar as well. I'll just hop into A1A. It's going to show me all the items that I have that are currently stored in my A1A box, and you may remember back when talking about unlisted inventory, you can set a default for unlisted right there. You can edit it. You can delete it as well. Again, it's going to ask you to merge it just like it did with purchase locations. Ledger vendors. So if you remember on the ledger, we have vendors there from eBay, American Bubble Boy. I think my example was Home Depot. This is going to list all of those ledger vendors here, and you can get some information. You can see I've spent $239 for Canva over the last year. You can add a new one here, you can filter, you can export, and then finally marketplaces. And so this is all the non-eBay marketplaces that you sell on and record sales for manually is right here. So you can add a new one if you need to from this section. Let's hop back to the dashboard here. The last thing that we'll talk about is right up here and your account page. This is just going to show everything related to your account. It's going to show your email address. It's going to show the eBay user ID that you have associated with your Flipwise account. You can change your password here. You can change your time zone. So we'll default to the time zone that we detect for you, but some people like to align their time zone with the eBay time zone. You can do that here. A lot of people don't use storage locations, and so they don't have an inventory system, so you can disable that entirely so it's not considered missing data. You can manage your subscription, so you can update your payment methods, you can view your billing history, you can cancel your membership if you need to. And then you'll have some stats here. How many active products do you have? How many ended products? How many total sales? Lifetime gross sales? That's the complete walkthrough of Flipwise. Hope this was helpful. If you have any questions at all, you can reach us at any time. Again, just hit that question mark button up at the top, hit the ask button. That'll go directly to me and to our team. And we'll get you an answer pretty quick. Or you can email us at support@flipwise.app. Thank you so much.